Hey parents, it's Robin McMahon here. Before you dive into this episode, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening to my show, Parenting Our Future. And did you know that you can watch this show as well on YouTube? If you want to watch this episode instead of listening to it, you can head over to my YouTube channel, Parenting for Connection, where you will find all of my podcast episodes, as well as a library of my videos that have tips and parenting strategies on how to parent even the most difficult kiddos. You will learn how to get better behavior, better listening, so that you can feel more calm and confident in your parenting, no matter what you're facing. So I hope to see you over on YouTube. Now back to the show. Hey, everybody, it's Robin McMahon here. Welcome back to another episode of Parenting Our Future. Speaking of the future, one of the things that we think about when we have kids is their future. And what are we going to do when it's time for them to go to university and college and post-secondary education? Are they going to go? Are they going to be burdened with debt? Are we going to be able to pay for it? Well, we are going to talk about all of this. My guest is Ksenia Yudina, and she is a CFA and the founder and CEO of UNest. It's an app you've got to go and check out. Now, it's only for people in the States, but it's okay. We're going to talk about UNest, but we're going to talk about more than just that. So, prior to founding UNest, Ksenia spent over a decade working in financial services, where she realized that the industry failed to recognize that parents' number one priority is saving for their children. After raising almost $40 million in venture capital, Ksenia launched UNest, a financial service allowing parents to set up tax-advantaged investment accounts for their kids in an easy-to-approach app format. It's so great. I have to tell you, it's so great. Since then, she's been named to Fortune's 40 under 40 list and has gotten the attention of Forbes and CNBC, to name a few. And she's also a mom to 3 kiddos, one who's 12, twins that are 7 years old. So she's not just doing this, she's living it. Welcome, Ksenia.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And look, I love that you have this attitude and philosophy that generational wealth is absolutely attainable for middle-class families as well. And I want to start by understanding what UNest is, and let's talk about the app, what it is, why you have this app, and how it works for families. I know that's a lot, but let's sort of start there.
Sure. So UNest is a mobile app, as you mentioned, that makes it super easy for parents to start saving and investing for their kids' future. They can start with as little as $25 a month, manage everything from the mobile phone. It's super convenient. And I'm most excited about a feature that helps them get gifts from friends and family into the child's account around birthdays, Christmas, all holidays and special occasions. It's a very kind of eco-friendly way, instead of toys, they can get electronic gifts and not a cash or check. It just goes straight into the child's account and makes it very social experience. And in addition, they can also get financial rewards from our brand partners. So we have about 150 different companies that partnered with us, like Nike, Uber Eats, Disney Plus, DoorDash, that also send money directly into the child's account every time when parent makes a purchase.
Okay, that's huge. So first, what you said is you can manage all of this from your mobile phone.
Right.
And so when grandma comes with a check for $100 or more, instead of that going just into a savings account, you can actually put it in the app, and they're going to make more money off of that money than they would in a savings account. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So grandma doesn't even need to download the app. Parent can just share the link. It takes, 3 minutes to send an electronic gift. It's very interactive experience. She can wrap it and put a video, photo, or message alongside,
I love it.
and it drops into the child's investing account that can actually grow over time.
Oh, that is so cool. What a great idea. What a great idea. I love that. Instead of, giving them cash or a check, do that. I love it. I love it. And it works for them. And then you have partners with Nike, with DoorDash. So that's pretty incredible. That's a big deal. Those are big companies that give rewards when you purchase.
That's
How does
right.
that work? How does that work? I love that.
So we have a simple marketplace
Okay.
with all those brands, and if the parent goes into that brand and let's say makes a purchase with Nike, we will deposit $15 or $20 into the parents into the child's account directly from the brand. So we getting additional funds from the brand, and we're sharing it with our community, with parents and kids, because everyone loves the mission to help parents in the easy way to build a better future for their kids.
Oh, that is just so cool. I love it. I love it. That is just so great. So you go into the marketplace, you have a purchase there, and then in return you get some points. So you need shoes anyway. Why not do it through
Yeah,
the app, right?
exactly.
Oh, I love it. And DoorDash. I mean, who doesn't love that, right? Okay, that's awesome. And you've got a long list of all of your partners on within the app, so people can go check that out there.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so here's the thing that I think about as a mom myself. I've got a child graduating this year, and I think when I look back at our journey as parents, we were younger, we were, fully settled in our careers. It was after my first son was born that my husband really ramped up his career. So what I'm trying to say is that in those early years, when you're having kids, it's usually when you've got either a big rent to pay or you're buying your first home and all the expenses that come with that. Then usually you need a family car, right? Some kind of vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's daycare, and your paychecks soon become, like they're gone in an instant. And we're often living paycheck to paycheck at this time because everything just costs so much. So how do you save enough in these early years to actually make a difference when it comes to your kids' future, whether you're using this money? And I think it's important to note that this money is not just for college or university per se, it's
Mm-hmm.
also for other big milestones in your child's life, like their first car, their first house, their wedding, stuff like that. Right? So how do we do this as parents?
So yeah, I think like it's one of the common misconceptions that you need to be wealthy to start saving for your kids, right? That it takes so much money to make a difference in their life. And the reality is, if you only set aside $25 every month when the child is born, you can save more than 60,000 by the time they're ready to go to college. If you set aside $100 every month, it's not so meaningful, right? I could probably spend like more on gas every month.
Yeah.
You can accumulate more than 100,000 by the time they're ready to graduate to school. But now think about all the positive things that can happen with a child if they have that safety nest. They can avoid student debt. They can afford their first car. They will not be forced to move in back with you, right? Post college, which is actually a big trend in America right now, because so
Yeah.
many kids graduating with with student debt and without means, right? And housing is so expensive that they're forced to move back with parents, and they're forced to delay important life decisions like having the first kid or buying the first house. So just
Yeah.
like if we as parents are aspirational, we really want to help our kids to avoid those kind of difficult decisions, right? Or delaying important decisions. We need to start thinking about that the minute our child is born. And
Mm.
remember that it only takes $25, $50, $100, whatever we can save to get started. And as our income increase, to your point, we're young, we make a little bit less, but when we are in our 30s and then 40s, we probably progress in our career and can, start saving a little bit more. But now kids are teens, for example, and now maybe it's $400 a month or $500 a month, and that can make a significant difference. On top of that, if it's an investment account, like, what we offer is UTMA. In Canada, you probably have something like very similar. Compounding also helps. So
Mm.
you making interest, you're earning interest on the money on the previous interest, right? So it's kind of like a
Mm.
snowball that money helps you make a little bit more money, and then tax advantages on top of that. So
Mm.
long term, it can grow tremendously.
That's incredible. So you said UTMA. What does that stand for?
Uniform minor trust account.
Okay, okay, okay. See, as a Canadian, I don't know what that means. Now, in Canada, we have our ESP, which is the registered educational something something something. I don't know. Anyway, and that's how parents will save money. The government matches that money only if it's used for education. But this is not just about education. But you had a situation where you came here from Russia when you were 18, and you had $180,000 in debt just to put yourself through college.
Mm-hmm.
And that's starting out your life, you know, not in a great way, being burdened with that debt. And then you talk about compound interest. Well, there's compound interest on that. That's the
Mm-hmm.
not good compound interest, right?
Yes, yeah, especially like when interest rates are increasing like they are right now, like it becomes
Oh,
even more burdensome for young people. And then just not just myself, like I've seen a lot of young adults around me graduating from top schools, enormous amounts of student debt. My best friend graduated to become a dentist with 500,000 in student loans. That's going to be probably burden on her for years to come. Successful career, but it comes with a cost. So
yeah.
that was one of the biggest motivation. Like, my initial reaction was like, okay, what if only if we can tell parents that they can start early with a little bit, we can make it super simple, because we also understand that all parents are very busy and then think about the kids today, school, daycare, sports, weekends. So simplicity is the key. If we can make it very simple and convenient for them to get started, their kids will not be experiencing what I've experienced, right, or my friends experienced. And I think the entire generation, like this millennial Gen Z generation, they can feel it. They want a different future for their kids.
Oh, they sure do.
And to your point, you mentioned that in Canada you have a slightly different type of account, right? In the United States, we have 529s for education or UTMAs for anything that benefits the child. That's a custodial account. But I think the main idea is that we all as parents want our kids to be better versions of ourselves, right?
Mhm.
We want them to avoid mistakes, to avoid type of debt that we've experienced. And how you do it can vary from country to country, from parent to parent, but it's very important to get started saving or investing when they are little.
Yeah. I mean, how can I agree with that? I love that you've connected the dots and said, okay, $25 every month from the moment your child is born will get you to $60,000. Wow. And that's almost, you almost don't miss $25. I remember when 20 bucks was still 20 bucks. 20 bucks was a lot, right? I would like that still, but think of some of those things that maybe you buy or subscriptions that you have that maybe you don't need, or you don't need to have a fancy coffee,
Yeah.
multiple times a week. I always sort of equate that with that. What do you mean about general wealth being attainable for middle class? So your average family, how can we get to generational wealth?
Well, it also takes a couple of things. First, the earlier you start, and the more that you can like put aside, we kind of discussed already, like $25 can get you to 60,000, but $100 a month can get you to 100,000. Now imagine the compounding effect and effect of your community participating in this process, right? So what if every time your child has a birthday, or it's Christmas, or it's Valentine's Day, or it's Easter, instead of asking your grandparents or friends bring like some toys, you just send them a link and they contribute a little bit. It's $25, $50, $100 there. Now we're talking about over years, over 15, 18 years, generating the real monetary power for your kid. That's why, like, our mission as a company, right, is to make sure that generational wealth is attainable to middle class families, to parents of all income levels and economic backgrounds. So yeah, it takes few things. Start early, get your family involved, increase your contribution every year as your income
Mm,
progresses, and think about long-term horizon. Don't
mm,
think that it's going to happen next year or in 3 years or in 5 years. Building wealth is a long-term accomplishment.
mm. And you really need to focus on paying yourself first, right? You've got to take that off the top first, and then figure out the rest, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. So we're talking about doing all of this early, which is great. And what if your kids are already tweens or teens? How do you handle that then? What if you feel like it's too late for you?
Well, it's never too late.
Okay.
It's never too late to get started. First of all, you can start with a little bit more, right? And if you think about it, you still have several years, right, until kids graduate college. So typically, we like really responsible for them as parents all the way through college years as well. So it takes you like to 5, 6, 7 years, and if instead of like $100 you put aside, $300 a month,
Mm.
you can actually generate a lot of savings.
So you can kind of catch up.
You can catch up.
Yeah, okay. Okay. What do you think is one of the reasons why people don't save for their kids' future?
Mm. Yeah, parents are put off by complexities of this process.
Yes.
We like, as parents, like I mentioned, we're so busy, right? With like our daily routines, we don't have time to think about finances. In the United States, for example, the process is super confusing for parents. Like you need to think about the right type of account. Is it 529? Is it UTMA? If it's 529, which state do I choose? Once I figured that out, how about investments? How many parents know about investments, ETFs, mutual funds, stocks,
Exactly.
bonds? It's really, really confusing. So I think the key is to provide the right tools for parents that takes the complexity away and
Mm.
demystifies this process of saving or investing, right? And it takes like 5 minutes to create the account versus like hours of setting up the financial applications and meeting with financial advisors. And by the way,
Right.
90% of people don't even have access to financial advisors, right? So it requires a lot of simplicity and convenience. Our kind of idea, a vision for UNest was become pretty much like an Amazon, as simple and convenient,
Oh.
right? And become a part of your daily lives, but also make sure that like that magic happens on the background of your life. It's automated. You don't need to go back every month and check it. It's like, the savings, the monthly savings are automated, the gifts are automated. There are a lot of like recurring deposits, recurring contributions. They're just happening while you're dealing with kids, while you're dealing with your like day to day. But at the same time, if you want to go back to your account and check it, it takes seconds. Just like, open your phone, it's on the mobile app, it takes seconds versus like old days when we had to reach out to our financial advisors or go through like very complicated like website and finding it. So I think simplicity is the key for the modern parent.
Yeah. Well, that makes so much sense. And so with UNest, is the return on investment higher? Can you also choose more risky investments for possible higher return, or do you just handle all of that? How does that work?
Yeah, we registered as financial advisors, and we try to handle most of the complexities for parents. So we ask a series of questions during the onboarding to understand the time horizon, the risk tolerance of the parent, and then we
Mm.
recommend the right portfolio for them. And we have 5 different portfolios. They range from the most conservative to the most aggressive, and 3 portfolios in the middle, age-based. That means that they adjust and get rebalanced when the child becomes older.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. And so when it comes time to withdraw the money, what is that process like?
Everything is done through the app. Right. And, for the solution that we use, UTMA, you don't have to wait until they go to college. You don't need to use it for educational expenses. You can use it for anything that benefits the child, even if it's, let's say, the summer camp. Right.
Oh,
And
okay.
it only takes seconds to withdraw from the app.
Okay. Wow, that is fantastic. So I'm just curious about the way, like, what happens once the parents now release their child is an adult. Where do they go from here? Is there a place for them to learn now for their own future in terms of their own family moving forward so that this process continues on?
Mhm.
Um, yeah, how does that work?
Yeah, so education, financial literacy is super important to us, right, as a company. And so right now, most of the parents on the platform, they have very little kids, newborns to 5-year-olds. Our goal as a company is to educate parents about everything related to finance, savings, investing, mortgages, credit cards, student debt, and so on. But we do build this relationship through every stage, through every like life stage of the child. And of course, we want to educate kids a little bit more. So what we have on the roadmap, for example, is ability for parents to buy individual stocks with the kids. Like you can buy like shares of like Amazon, Apple, or Facebook, and teach kids a little bit more about investing. And
Love
then
that.
the beauty of the app is also that, like this account, when child becomes an adult, you don't have to close the account or you don't have to withdraw the money. It actually becomes the property of the child. It becomes like investment of the kid, becomes a brokerage
Oh.
account. So they can still keep growing that nest and manage the money and learn about finances through the app.
That is phenomenal. That is so great. I am so happy there are people like you in this world that can help us understand this, because I think the hardest thing is that as as parents, we don't necessarily know how to set our kids' future up because we don't have it figured out at all. So it's really daunting, and then we opt out. I think it's like what you said earlier. It's just too confusing. There's too much, and it's like, no, you know what? I am not even going to look at this anymore. I can't do this. So I really do love this as a solution, and I love that your message is, yeah, start early with as little as $20 a month, and then from there, you're really just providing a really great safety net for your child so they don't have to have this major debt. So thank you for what you're doing. And I'm so happy that you have some tips for us in the Parent Toolbox. So you have tips to make saving for college less daunting. It's a checklist, and you can get that at the Parent Toolbox. So parent-toolbox.com is where that will be. And people can find you everywhere. Your website is unest.co. You are on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, Instagram as UNest, and Twitter as well. And Ksenia, I really do want to thank you for helping us out as parents to understand this. I know it's so complicated and daunting, and you've made it accessible. And I just really appreciate that. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting. Yeah, I enjoyed the conversation a lot. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this edition of my podcast, Parenting Our Future. I'm parent coach Robin McMahon, and if you're enjoying this podcast, please share it with someone who you think might also need to hear this message. And don't forget to subscribe, and if you like my work, I would be grateful if you gave me a 5-star rating. For those of you who like my content and want more, visit me at yellingcurebook.com to get your copy of my book and to find other resources to help you. Until next time, I am wishing you and your family peace.